Hello, welcome to Secure Talk, your trusted source of information on the latest threats, trends, tools, and technology related to cybersecurity and compliance. Join our hosts as they discuss a wide range of topics and speak with leading cybersecurity, technology, and compliance experts. Now is the time for Secure Talk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Secure Talk. Secure Talk is brought to you by AdeQuest, your cybersecurity and compliance partner. My name is Mark Schreiner, and I'll be your host for this episode of Secure Talk. Today, we are joined by Mr. Gabriel, aka Gabby Friedlander, CEO of Wizer, a cybersecurity education provider. Gabby, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me to talk to you today.
It's my pleasure. Hey, you're doing something that I think is really important. You're providing services that help companies educate their people in terms of how to prepare or prevent cyber attacks. Is that correct?
That's accurate.
So before we dive into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how what you were doing in the past led you to start Wizer?
Sure. So prior to Wizer, I founded another company called Observit. So this is what I was doing for the past almost 14 years. It's been a long time, a long ride. Observit was insider threat solution. So we basically were monitoring what people were doing inside the company and trying to figure out if they were putting the company at risk. Most of the time, it was not intentional, but still, people, are putting the company at risk by doing mistakes. So we were dealing a lot with different things that people were doing. And for me, moving on after Observit, it was a natural progression to go from monitoring them and trying to prevent what they're doing to educating them not to do that in the first place. Observit was sold recently to Proofpoint, so they acquired Observit. And for me, Wizer was just a natural progress. So I've been dealing with the human behavior aspect for the past, at least 15 years, I would say.
And that's interesting because I think there's an overwhelming consensus that the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain is the human element. It's also one of the easiest to maybe correct or strengthen given the right tools or training. So, but training and education can mean a lot of different things to many people, and there are different viewpoints on what's effective and what's not. Tell us a little bit about Wizer's approach.
Yeah, so, I have this crazy vision that one day we all be able to go online without getting scammed. I know that it's very far-fetched. In the current situation, it's just getting worse, unfortunately. But hopefully one day this will happen. And our mission is to, in small steps, get there. And one of the ways that I think we differentiate ourselves in the market is that we believe that it's not about protecting the companies, but it's more about protecting the people. So instead of, trying to talk to people about all day long about how we should protect our company from a phishing attack, we should be talking to them about how they can avoid a job scam or how can they avoid a fake check scam. Now, the reason for that is when you make something personal, then people relate to that better. And that's usually the way you make them change their behavior. When it becomes personal, when you talk about I usually don't even say cybersecurity as much. I usually talk about online safety because it's much more approachable for most people. They don't, when you think about cybersecurity for the average person, it sounds like, a job that pays well. They don't usually think about it in terms of it's related to them. So I think what's missing today is something that we can talk to people, at the same level and simplify it. And like I said, make it personal. Because when you take, for example, a job scam, when people apply for a job, but they basically are, getting hired by a scammer. And not only they're stealing all their, personal information that they're filling to, to start working, like the bank account, social security number, and all of that. In many cases, also they lose money without getting into it right now. But they pay for stuff that they will never get reimbursed. Now, when you look at this type of scam, you will see that it includes, for example, a phishing link. Now, people tend to think about phishing in the terms of email, but in reality, it's everywhere, right? It's on social media. They may have seen that in a site like Indeed, like a job searching site. So they may applied for a job that was, listed by scammers. So when you tell a story that is personal, you can also teach people the fundamentals of what a cyber attack looks like. But then they apply all of that to work as well, because it's the same concepts. You get a mail or a call from somebody you have to verify them. You have to make sure the process is right. So all of those things can be taught in a better way. This is sort of our take on online safety, and I think this is what makes us unique. And also, we understand that people have a very, very short attention span. Even when they are, learning something, they're distracted all the time. This is just, the world we live in right now. We're distracted constantly with all these notifications, and it's just hard to get back and concentrate. So you have about a minute to grab their attention. So just like Instagram stories and TikTok, all of our videos are 1 minute long. We don't have to include the history of cybersecurity, but it's really about what is the scam or what is the problem we're trying to address, and one thing or two things that you want people to remember. And we have a lot of those short videos, but the approach is micro training, micro learning, which works really well because it's very similar to the way people consume videos today. Like I said, with all these social media videos. It's really about being short and to the point.
Yeah, so we'll jump into the specifics of those videos in a second. But to back up a second, I totally agree with you. It's amazing if you go into an organization and say, who here is responsible for cybersecurity? And they'll look to one person in the back of the room and say, he's our cybersecurity guy. And we're like, it's everybody's job, right? It's everybody's responsibility, and everybody needs to be aware. And a lot of times there's this perception that cybersecurity and cyber attacks are this super slick, high-tech James Bond kind of thing. And in reality, oftentimes it could be even just a thumb drive. Somebody slips in and inadvertently downloads some malware or something, right? So just teaching people what to be aware of, and teaching them, spreading the message that it's everybody's responsibility. That said, I also like what you said, that if I come in and say, hey guys, we're going to do cybersecurity training, it's all your responsibility, a lot of people are like, oh man, really? I got stuff to do. But if you make it personal and say, we're just going to give you some pointers that will help you to protect your identity, to protect your data, et cetera, et cetera. It's about you. And I totally agree and see that approach works. In fact, it works for me. If somebody says, hey, Mark, I'm going to show you how to do something better or how to protect yourself, I'm all in. If it's about the company, hope my boss isn't listening, I'm not always sold, right? But so okay, now you've got their attention, right? You say, look, we're going to give you some tips on how to protect yourself, to protect your data, et cetera, like that. Now you get into these, what'd you call it? A micro training. So these are 1 minute videos, right? Talk about some of the different topics of these videos.
So we cover all the topics. I think the main thing is that every time you don't try to squeeze as much information as possible, because it goes back to, I see ourselves more like a media company than just a training company. When you do training, it sounds like long and it will include a lot of things. But in reality, if you look at marketers, for example, we're sold every day and we see ads, whether it's online or on TV. They are short, so they can actually make a point within about 30 seconds. It is possible. Now, the more information you add, my attention is now split. So I forget. It's like telling me, remember this 20 numbers. Now I have to remember all of them. It's so hard. But when you tell me remember 3 numbers, okay, I'll remember them. So every video is focused, we can take a very complicated topic, but we break it down to small segments, and every segment deals with one thing that we want people to remember. And there is one key takeaway that you want people to go with. So they remember that. And then you allow them to control the pace, because it's hard to learn, continuously sit down and look. Maybe you watch the video, you take a break, you go drink water, you come back, or whatever it is, or maybe you're binge watching it, one after the other. It's up to you. But it's really about the, that one key takeaway every time, so people actually know what to do and remember. And it's very, very effective when you do it that way. At least, what we see.
Totally agree with you. But do give me some specific examples of topics that you cover.
Yeah.
Or give us, I should say.
Well, we talk about, again, the same, what is phishing, what is smishing, what is vishing, what is wire fraud, how to avoid wire fraud. But again, usually we try to come at it with different titles. So instead of just saying, what is phishing or what is vishing, we can talk about, in the aspect of wire fraud, or instead of romance scam, we'll talk about, are you dating a scammer? or for a job scam, my employee scammed me, So every time we create a video, we try to make it sort of viral, so people will emotionally also connect to this topic.
And
so,
and are you developing these topics in-house? Is this something that, yeah.
So basically we have to, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, it's so easy to outsource this, but it requires passion. Honestly, like you have to want to deliver a message, not just to cover a topic. You want to make sure people understand. So, we whiteboard and we think about it. It's sort of like every video we're making is almost like, like an ad. Like, did we deliver the message? Did people understand? We want to make sure that the message came across, people know what to do. So if we're talking about verification codes, for example, how do you talk about it in the context where people will share it? So for example, we spoke about how by the way, I always love telling real stories. So, I talked about how, and this is a real story, how a friend, by the way, he's from the security space, but he was busy with his kid. He got a phone call from the credit company telling from the fraud division, obviously, telling him that they saw a fraudulent transaction of an iPhone and they asked him if it's him. He said, no, we'll cancel it. Okay, thank you. Hold on, we'll send you a code. Please verify that it's you. He sent them the code. And basically what really happened is that somebody was resetting his password and a code was sent to him and he needed to read it back. But it was a perfect social engineering. And he at that time was, under pressure. But when you and again, it can happen to anyone, because what cyber criminals are focusing on is exploiting your emotions, not your technical skills. If somebody was to call me and while my kids were at school and say, hey, this is the nurse and something happened to your kid, at that point, I don't really think about cyber scam. Right. I'm like, okay, what happened? So they caught him, off guard. And he was scammed. Yeah. It can happen to everyone. That's why it's also important for people to understand that, we talk about the weakest link, but it can happen to anyone. And if people were trained, they can still be victims, right? It's like, it's not always their fault.
I get emails. I get emails, I don't know, once or twice a month from my boss or somebody pretending to be my boss saying, hey, I urgently need you to send me this. And it's like, come on, man. But they've got an email address that looks very, very close. They obviously know, his name, his title, and they'll probably send it to everybody in the company or as many addresses they have. Yeah. And somebody might respond. We had one where it was hey, I need you to go and buy a bunch of these gift cards and deliver them to the customer ASAP. Can you take care of it today? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will be like, oh, the boss says I got to go, right? And you don't. So this stuff happens, and like you said, they prey on your emotions, that sense of urgency, that my God,
culture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because the culture in the US and in many other places is to do what your boss told you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those cultures, like verifying that your boss is actually your boss, it's not in our habits. It's
No,
not
right.
something we tend to do. Even, culturally, we are better responding at doing something fast to an urgent request than thinking we're going to get scammed. This is not something we're used to.
Yep.
So, yeah, everybody can be fooled. And it's really a matter of continuously teaching that and giving examples and also making people understand that it can happen to anyone,
So,
it's very important.
no, you're making really good points. Tell us a little bit about the types of companies that you work with and how you engage with them. I mean, do they just come to your website or do you proactively contact them? I mean, how does it work?
Sure. So we started about a year and a half ago, like the company, and about earlier this year, we started to actually, we launched it and told people about it. And since then, we have over 6,000 organizations using our product. Now, we have a free version and a paid version. Obviously, most of the customers are using the free version, which actually it's a great offering because it includes the learning management system that we developed, and it includes the videos, and you can track that employees have, watched the videos and took the quizzes, and all of that is free.
So where's that available at?
It's at wizer-training.com, Wizer with a Z, WIZER-training.com. And we don't market. We didn't. It's mostly word of mouth. And what we do is a lot of social media. So many of our videos, we share them on LinkedIn and other social networks. And we're trying, like I said, to, fulfill that vision that we have where it's a basic life skill and everybody should be trained. It's not fair that only people that can pay for that should have this skill. And unfortunately, school doesn't do a good job at, training our kids about this type of stuff, educating our kids. So we did a lot of videos that are totally free, not even gated. You don't even have to sign up. You can just go to our website and go to social media, and we post on a daily basis and we share tips. So that really created a lot of brand awareness and led to a lot of people believing in what we believe in, and sign up and use the free version. And some companies convert to paying customers if they need, for example, phishing simulation, if they need gamification, and some of the more advanced stuff that we have. But the bulk of our training is, a big part of it is free.
That's awesome. And by the way, I've watched several of the videos. Super impressive, high quality, to the point, memorable, entertaining. I mean, nobody wants to go and sit and listen to a 30-minute, kind of monotone speech about cybersecurity and all those other subtopics. Well, I won't say nobody. There are a few people out there, very special people that love that kind of stuff. But for the most part, most people just want it. Just tell me the information, make it easy for me to remember, and then let's get on with our day. And you've done an excellent job with that. I mean, again, they're entertaining, fun, but very succinct and to the point. And yeah, it's very helpful. So you mentioned most of your customers or the organizations that you're working with, they're just using your free content. And then you have a paid version. The paid version, does that work like on a subscription, or how does it work? Yeah.
We call it the Wizer Boost.
Okay.
And it's basically like most of the other solution, it's based on the amount of users you have. So there's a different, pricing level, depends on the amount of users that you're training. And it includes some of the more advanced, I would say, training like compliance training, HIPAA, CCPA, GDPR, some more advanced security training like insider threat, stuff like that.
Now,
that's included.
Is that also in the 1 minute, would you call it micro classes?
Yeah, everything. Look, it's a format. If we believe that people's attention is short, so we won't make anything more than 2 minutes because.
But GDPR is. I mean, if you can summarize GDPR in 2 minutes, dude, you are a genius, man.
So look, first of all, we did it.
Okay.
And second, it's composed out of, like I said, so the GDPR is 5 videos of 1.5 minutes each. So what is GDPR? We did in a minute. Like, again, you break down a topic.
Yep.
So we have the principle of GDPR is one thing. Then GDPR for marketers is another. Then GDPR in general, what is GDPR? And like, you break it down to the different components. But again, remember, we're talking about awareness, right? So it's not GDPR for practitioners, which obviously they need to know every aspect of the law because they're going to be implementing it. Here, we're talking about the employee. They don't need to know everything about the GDPR. They just need to know what's related to them. Okay, what do you want me to do? Do you really want to teach me everything about GDPR? Is that really important? No, right? It's like, what am I supposed to do now? Now that GDPR is in effect, what am I supposed to do? How does my job differ now than before? That's what they want to know. Excellent. And that's what we do. No. So we focus on those parts instead of trying to give you the brief history of why even GDPR was created.
There is not a brief history of why GDPR was. I've done that presentation. Yeah. That's a full day deal, man. But no, I totally, and for the right audience, which is most people, that's all they need. Unless you're like the CSO, the CISO, the compliance officer, the DPO.
Then you go to specific training,
exactly,
which is different. It's more skill-based. Exactly. So when you go to that level, you go to skill-based when you you learn it, deep dive in order to be able to implement it.
Well, but I spent some time poking around your site, and I also noticed that you have something called an ambassador program.
Yep.
Explain how that works.
So an ambassador program, that's a really great method to create a security culture in the organization. And that's a big difference because we talk about security in general. It's about culture, and it's not easy to create that culture. So when you do when you do an ambassador program, essentially what you're doing is you are finding influencers in your organization, going back to that concept of marketers. So now you're putting your marketer hat, your security marketer hat, and you're finding who are the influencers in this organization. It doesn't have to be managers. Influencers are people that, people have to talk to, look up to, listen to, and you basically make them your security awareness ambassadors. What does that mean? It means that you work with them. They don't have to know. They don't have to be, security practitioners or, it's all about expectations. They have to be sort of the bridge between those individual teams. And if they have a question or if there's a project they're working on and they need to know, for example, whether to secure it or not, they have somebody inside the organization that can go to the security team and talk to them about it and see if there's any need to do anything. Those ambassadors are getting trained. They have special training where, when we were in offices, you go to a room with bagels and they talk, and you bring speakers and you teach them more about, again, how to also secure their personal lives and their kids. So, a handful of people that you work with, and eventually these people help to create that culture inside the company. You can also use them, for example, to create some spear phishing emails because they know which project the company is working on, their teams are working on. So instead of spamming them with phishing emails that, are generic, here is another UPS, as if they didn't get 100 of those already. Now you're sending them another phishing simulation about Amazon or about Facebook. This is like almost annoying. So instead of that, you can now create maybe a phishing email about a project they're working on, and you can then talk to them about it after you created that simulation, about the results, why we fell for it, what do we need. But then again, you have those ambassadors that help you.
No, I think it's huge. Anytime you try to do any adoption change management in any organization, you need to kind of create a critical mass of awareness.
Exactly.
and subject matter expertise, and then you create momentum, and then sooner or later a broader audience gets pulled into it, and you get this forward momentum, and pretty soon everybody's doing what they should be doing. And
isn't that like fashion? Isn't like that fashion influencers?
Yeah.
Not all fashion influencers are fashion experts. They just maybe love fashion, they love to dress, whatever it is, but they influence others, right? So you don't have to be an expert in something. You just need to be interested enough to be, appreciated by others, or looked up to.
Absolutely. Hey, another thing I saw on your site that I think is really cool is the Wizer stories.
Oh, yep. So this is another so this is a new feature, but I see this more than a feature because basically what it is, we have discussions like this, and on social media, I'm very active on LinkedIn, and there are some amazing discussions going on LinkedIn. But the thing is that, I felt that we're talking to ourselves, like, what if we can take some of those conversations, because not everything is applicable to, the average person. They won't understand, like maybe they will understand, but they don't care about everything we have to say. But let's say we talk about how somebody avoided a mortgage, or somebody was, scammed, they lost their house or whatever it is. We can take that conversation and feed that into our security awareness system, where people can, now be exposed to it. So basically what we're doing every day, we're curating discussions that are happening on social media that we think that are relevant to everyday people, like Craigslist scams, and there's tons of them all over social media. So we're handpicking them, and then we're creating this daily feed,
Yep.
which people can. It's optional. It's not training. It's optional content, where people that log into our system can now basically browse and see what people on social media are talking about. So it doesn't feel like training, because it's not really training. These are posts, and you can also see the comments, and you can participate in the discussion. So it's really cool. It's bridging that gap between security experts on social media and the average person, in order to make sure that all those great things we talk about on social media don't stay between us. They expand the security community.
Right. And for me, depending on the quality of the form, one of the best ways to learn, again, depending on the form or the topic, is that UGI, that user generated content, or excuse me, UGC, because you get subject matter experts, or who are kind of moderating or responding, or you get people like me who are like, I got a question, but I don't know who to ask. And wow, that's,
Exactly.
five other people have already asked the same question. And so it's because a lot of us are thinking the same stuff, but where do we go? And I mean, it sounds like a great opportunity for people to kind of learn. Also, kind of, you're also just creating more awareness as well, and that awareness thing is huge. Let me switch kind of gears here for a second. Tell me a little bit more about the business in terms of, do you work through partners? Do you work direct?
So we work both through partners, and so. Again, we're a young company, and part of it is, we're still figuring out what works best for us. For now, it looks like a lot of things work good for us, which is confusing, I have to say.
Yeah.
We work with partners, MSPs and MSSPs. We've also started to work with insurance companies that provide our solution to their insurers. We obviously also sell direct. We never, we try not to have any conflict. So obviously, if a deal comes in and a partner is working, on it, so we'll never sell directly to that company. But basically, because we're a young company, we're still figuring out what works best for us. But like I said, we're in hyper growth, so it's good, but it's also confusing. We don't wanna we wanna serve best the customers and our partners.
And I noticed on your site, I think I noticed a few different flags. Does that mean you have the content in different languages, or is that part of the roadmap?
Yep. Yeah, so we have about 7 or 8 languages: English, German, Spanish, Portuguese, Hebrew, which is my mother tongue, and some other languages. But yeah, and we're adding more as needed. It goes back to this, everyone is entitled to this training. It's not something to being educated. And we do a lot of activity, like I said, also for kids as well. So we have an entire section about online safety for kids, and it includes videos and guides for parents, like, the technology agreements between kids and their parents, and questions to ask, and all of that, and how to control different apps, and how to monitor your kids' online activity. So a lot of, and that's totally open, not gated at all.
That's huge right now, especially with all the kids schooling from home, parents working from home, and because if you're in a corporate environment, you're in the school, you think you're protected to some degree by different firewall settings, different security settings, etc. But when you're at home, maybe you don't have those settings. Maybe you're just using your Wi-Fi. Maybe it's an unsecured Wi-Fi, and who knows what the kids are doing. I mean, that's a concern for probably every parent in the world right now, knowing that there's a lot of good content out there and there's a lot of not so good content out there. And there's also people out there looking to prey. I mean, I don't mean it. Just trying to get information from anybody. Right. Exactly. Right. So that's
kids' identity. Kids' identity is the most valuable identity because it's clean. So as a criminal, I can take that identity and I can build on top of it. Right. So, and I think parents give too much credit to their kids because they think they are very, technology advanced. But what they don't get is what we began with is that cyber criminals attack emotions, right?
Yep.
So if I'm gaming, if I'm playing, it's very easy to fool me.
Yep.
I can get tokens for free. I can get cheats. I can talk to somebody that looks like, he's my friend. It's just the easiest thing because they're still emotionally, not strong enough in terms to understand even what's happening. And there are horrible stories. I don't want to depress anyone out there, but it can ruin kids' life. So, and parents, I think, are not totally aware to that. They think that their kids, they don't even know, for example, what Discord is, and they don't know about the different apps that kids are using, and sexting, which is huge. Unfortunately, 1 out of 4 kids has been sexted, either received or sent nude pictures of minors. And this is just, this is something that parents need to know what to ask, just to tell their kids don't talk to strangers is not enough anymore.
No, that's huge. And,
totally
and being a parent, I got to say, it's top of mind. And I feel like sometimes we're fighting a losing battle because the educators are giving all the kids computers. The kids, they don't bring home books anymore. And so you have to give them access. At the same time, how do you control it? And you don't want to be looking over their shoulder all the time. You can't be looking over their shoulder all the time. And then they got their phones and so it's like, if you can solve that problem
and who's teaching us? Who is guiding us?
Wizer is, right? Wizer is guiding us.
Yeah, I hope that's what we're trying to do. But the reality is that school is not teaching the kids about it.
Nope.
Parents are uneducated.
The school doesn't know
about this.
I mean,
you don't know.
All this 80% of the schools around the world were using Zoom, and then the Zoom bombing started, right? And that's just one little thing, right? So it's we're in a whole brave new world here, and I know that I'm going to watch a couple of those videos on those specific topics when we're done here. Well, we've been going on here for a while. I don't want to go too long, but what's in the roadmap for you? What exciting things do you want to talk about that we should be looking out from Wizer in the near future?
So first of all, I think we're going to, it's really about where we put our attention. It's not features, I love to talk about roadmap. I can say we're going to do a lot of things around roadmap. We have gamification. We're going to have more of that. We're going to have more of a lot of things. But for me, it's focusing on getting the message across. So it's playing around with different type of content, checking that people respond well, working with the community, making sure that what we're doing is actually impacting in a good way. That's sort of my roadmap, making sure that we're not just delivering, compliance training and just generating revenues, even though it's important. I think, this will be a result of, are we actually making a dent in this community, in this society? This is my passion. I really hope that we will be able to, to get people to tell us that we help them. That's for me the biggest thing. And we're going to do a lot of things. We're going to, like I said, we're going to do more YouTubes. We're going to do more videos. We're going to do more games. We're going to do more interaction with the community. Honestly, we're going to try it all. Anything that will drive results, and the result is that people tell us, hey, you helped us.
Well, I think you're definitely on the right path, and you've made some amazing progress. And we'll be watching more of your videos and sharing them as often as possible. Hey, Gabby, I really appreciate you coming on Secure Talk today, and wish you the best and brightest for the remainder of 2020, and look forward to crossing paths with you someday soon.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking to you.
Hello, welcome to Secure Talk, your trusted source of information on the latest threats, trends, tools, and technology related to cybersecurity and compliance. Join our hosts as they discuss a wide range of topics and speak with leading cybersecurity, technology, and compliance experts. Now is the time for Secure Talk.